As truths are unveiled, our lovers stand at a crossroads, their future hanging in the balance like a delicate brushstroke. Hold your breath, art lovers, because this revelation is about to be more stunning than a surprise Banksy in your backyard. Chapter 12. Shades of Truth. The last echoes of applause faded as the gallery emptied, leaving Camila alone with the aftermath of her triumphant solo exhibition, Fractured Truths. She stood before her centerpiece, a massive canvas that dominated the far wall. A riot of color and emotion, storm gray eyes peering out from a swirl of favela oranges and golds, shattered glass and broken chains intertwined with blooming flowers and soaring birds.
Quite the turnout, Ms. Santos.
A voice broke through her reverie. She turned to see George Harrington, the New York curator, approaching with a champagne flute in hand.
I must say I'm impressed. Your work has evolved since we last spoke.
Camila managed a small smile, though her stomach churned at the memory of their last encounter.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. I've been on quite a journey these past few months.
George nodded, his eyes gleaming with something Camila couldn't quite place.
Indeed, and what a journey it's been. Tell me, have you reconsidered my offer? New York is still very much interested in your unique perspective.
As Camila opened her mouth to respond, a commotion outside the gallery caught her attention. Through the large windows, she saw a group of people in dark suits approaching rapidly. Suddenly, the gallery doors burst open. Camila's heart leapt into her throat as she saw Maxim stride in, flanked by several stern-looking individuals. His eyes locked with hers for a brief, electric moment before he turned to George.
George Harrington,
One of the suited individuals announced, flashing a badge.
you're under arrest for art forgery, fraud, and involvement in an international crime syndicate.
George's face drained of color.
What? This is absurd. Maxim, what's going on?
Maxim's expression was a mix of triumph and regret.
It's over, George. They know everything.
As the Interpol agents moved to handcuff a sputtering George, Camila felt her world tilt on its axis. She stumbled back, bumping into her painting, the physical contact with her art grounding her in the surreal moment.
Maxim?
She whispered, her voice barely audible over the noise of George being read his rights. Maxim turned to her, his storm gray eyes filled with a maelstrom of emotions. Relief, exhaustion, hope, and something deeper that made Camila's heart race.
Camila,
He breathed, taking a step towards her.
I can explain everything.
As the agents led George away, Maxim and Camila found themselves alone in the gallery, surrounded by the raw emotion of her artwork.
What? What just happened?
Camila managed, her mind reeling. Maxim ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of vulnerability she'd never seen from him before.
I've been working with Interpol as an informant for years. The rumors about my involvement in forgeries, they weren't entirely false, but not in the way you think.
Camila's legs felt weak. She sank onto a nearby bench, trying to process this revelation.
I don't understand.
Maxim sat beside her, careful to maintain a respectful distance.
My family, we've been in the art world for generations. I grew up surrounded by beauty, but also by whispers of fraud, of masterpieces that weren't quite what they seemed. When I realized the extent of the forgery network, how it was corrupting everything I loved about art, I couldn't stand by and do nothing.
So you became an informant.
Camila said slowly, pieces falling into place. Maxim nodded.
I used my position, my connections, to get close to people like Harrington, to gather evidence, to help Interpol bring down the entire network. But it meant living in a world of half-truths and compromises.
His eyes met hers, raw with honesty.
Your art, your passion, your absolute commitment to truth. It shook me to my core, Camila. It made me question everything, and it terrified me.
Why didn't you tell me?
Camila asked, searching his face.
I wanted to. God, Camila, you have no idea how much I wanted to, but I couldn't risk compromising the operation. And I was afraid of dragging you into this dangerous world, afraid of how I felt about you, afraid that once you knew the whole truth, you'd see me differently.
He reached into his jacket, pulling out a familiar object. Camila's breath caught as she recognized her charm bracelet, the tiny fire extinguisher glinting in the gallery lights.
I found this,
Maxim said softly.
outside the Copacabana Palace. I've carried it with me every day since, a reminder of what I almost lost. of the truth I was too afraid to face.
With trembling hands, he held it out to her.
I'm not asking for forgiveness, Camila. I'm asking for a chance. A chance to be honest, to be vulnerable, to create something real together if you'll have me.
Camilla stared at the bracelet, her heart pounding. All her fears and doubts crystallized in that moment. Fear of trust, of change, of losing herself in someone else's world. But as she looked at her paintings, at the raw truth she had poured onto canvas, she realized something profound. She was no longer the girl who had stumbled into Maxim's lap in a tiny cantina. She was an artist who had faced her demons and created beauty from pain. She was strong enough to love without losing herself. With a shaky breath, Camilla reached out, but instead of taking the bracelet, she gently closed Maxim's fingers around it.
Keep it,
She said softly.
as a reminder, not of what you almost lost, but of what we can build together.
Confusion flickered across Maxim's face, quickly replaced by hope, as Camilla intertwined her fingers with his.
I don't need a charm to remind me of who I am anymore.
She continued, her voice growing stronger.
I found my truth, Maxim, in my art, in myself, and I think I see that same truth in you. Your passion for preserving real art, for fighting against forgery and fraud, it's part of who you are.
Maxim's eyes shone with understanding and something that looked a lot like love.
Camila,
But she silenced him with a finger to his lips.
No more words, not now.
She stood, tugging him gently to face her centerpiece.
Look,
As they stood hand in hand before the massive canvas, Camilla felt a sense of rightness settle over her. The painting was a reflection of her journey, the pain, the growth, the beauty found in broken places. But now, with Maxim beside her, she saw something new emerging from the chaos of color and form. Hope, possibility. A future painted in shades of trust and honesty and love.
it's us.
Maxim whispered, awe in his voice.
All of it. The good, the bad, the beautiful, the broken.
Camilla nodded, squeezing his hand.
it's our masterpiece, if we're brave enough to create it together.
As they stood before the painting, their fingers intertwined, Camilla felt a weight lift from her shoulders. They had faced their fears, confronted their truths, and emerged stronger for it. The canvas of their future stretched before them, blank and full of possibility. And for the first time, Camilla felt ready, eager even, to see what they could create together. It wouldn't be easy. There would be struggles and misunderstandings, moments of doubt and fear. But as Camilla looked at their joined hands, at the art surrounding them, at the love shining in Maxim's eyes, she knew one thing with absolute certainty. It would be beautiful.